I have a Northern Ireland reporter, Matthew Symington, here with me. Hi, Matthew.
Hiya.
So, a difficult day for the unionism in Northern Ireland.
That's right, Aisha. One of the major themes of this election really has been the strain that it's continuing to put on the Union of Nations that make up the United Kingdom. Now, we've seen that very clearly in Scotland, where the Scottish Nationalists have swept the board, taking nearly every seat in Scotland. That's going to renew their demands for a Scottish independence referendum. What's happened in Northern Ireland is that for the first time in the country's history, since it was created nearly a century ago, Northern Ireland has returned a majority of nationalist MPs over and above unionist MPs. Last night there were 9 nationalist MPs elected in Northern Ireland, as opposed to 8 for the unionist side. So that's a huge symbolic victory for nationalism in Northern Ireland and a huge defeat for unionism. It's important to emphasise that of those nationalist MPs, actually only 2 from the moderate nationalist, Social Democratic and Labour Party will come here to Westminster to take their seats to represent their constituents, because the other 7 seats went to the more hardline nationalist Republican Sinn Féin party. They believe that British rule in Northern Ireland is illegitimate. They believe that they shouldn't have to come here, so they follow an abstentionist policy, and therefore they won't come here and they won't represent their constituents here. But the SDLP will. So despite this victory for the Nationalists, and despite this majority that they've won, which they would like to use to see Northern Ireland leave the United Kingdom and join a united Ireland, actually only 2 nationalist members of Parliament will be here representing Westminster. Nonetheless, it's a huge symbolic victory for nationalism in Northern Ireland.
But how did the Brexit actually affect the vote there?
Well, it affected it quite profoundly, because what happened in Northern Ireland was that all of the parties who opposed Brexit and who wanted Northern Ireland to stay in the EU, they formed together this Remain Alliance, as they called it, which meant that if one of the parties in a particular seat had the best chance of winning that seat, then all of the other parties would stand their candidates down in order to give that party a clear run. Now, that was highly effective in 2 constituencies in particular, in South Belfast and in North Belfast. In South Belfast, the Social Democratic and Labour Party took the seat with a huge increase in their majority and defeated the DUP candidate there, the DUP being the main unionist party and very pro-Brexit. In North Belfast, the Sinn Féin candidate won a narrow majority over Nigel Dodds. He was the DUP candidate, and he actually was the DUP leader here in Westminster, so that was a huge victory for Sinn Féin. So the DUP have suffered a loss of 2 seats, but I think over and above the loss of those seats, what will be really upsetting the DUP this morning is the huge loss of influence that they have suffered. Because remember, after the 2017 election, the DUP were kingmakers here in Parliament. They had 10 MPs, and because of the failure of Theresa May, the previous Prime Minister, to win a majority for her Conservative Party, those 10 MPs were crucial to her to pass any legislation. And they were quite bullish with that influence that they had. They actually voted down Theresa May's previous Brexit deal, which in many ways was comparatively favourable to Northern Ireland and Northern Irish unionists. What's happened since is that Boris Johnson has replaced Theresa May as Prime Minister. He's come up with the Brexit deal, which in many ways is much more unfavourable to Northern Ireland and Northern Irish unionists. He has now won a massive majority on the basis of English votes, so the DUP have now been rendered an irrelevance. And he is going to push this Brexit deal through regardless of what the DUP thinks. So the result of the election last night was really to politically marginalise the DUP, and I think they'll be suffering quite a lot today.
So they don't really have that leverage anymore. They did own it once.
They had completely lost that leverage, and I think this morning there are going to be a lot of questions for the DUP about how exactly they used that leverage when they had it, because I think many people will look at that 2-year window from 2017 to 2019 and say, you completely messed it up. You had the chance to vote for a deal which potentially would have kept Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom economically coherent. The case against Boris Johnson's Brexit deal is that actually it severs Northern Ireland economically from the rest of the UK, and that deal is going to be pushed through under the DUP's watch, arguably.
Well, thank you very much for that insight there. Matthew Symington here with us.
Thank you.